Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and today we got a super special video. Thanks to Wizards hooking us up, we got an exclusive New Capenna preview card to show off for y'all, so we're gonna jump into that in just a second. Before we do, a quick reminder, if you need a copy of the card we're just about to talk about, or any New Capenna cards, or really any Magic cards, you can get them from our sponsor Card Kingdom over at cardkingdom.com/MTGGoldfish. Anyway, let's meet Soul of Emancipation. So Soul of Emancipation, it's a new Bant rare, a 7 mana 5/7 avatar that says when it enters the battlefield, you can blow up to 3 non-land permanents, and for each one that gets destroyed, its controller gets to make a 3/3 flying angel creature token. So if you're thinking, hang on a second, this sounds kind of familiar, that's because Soul of Emancipation actually really similar to Terastodon. Terastodon, 9 mana 9/9 elephant, when it enters the battlefield, you can blow up to 3 non-creature permanents. For each one that's destroyed, its controller gets a 3/3 elephant creature token. So Soul of Emancipation is essentially a twist on Terastodon. Downside of Soul of Emancipation is it doesn't hit lands. One of the most common ways to use Terastodon is you blow up some of your lands to make a big board. Maybe if you reanimate it early, blow up your opponent's lands to keep them off all their mana. Soul of Emancipation's not going to be able to do that, but there are some upsides for Soul of Emancipation, with one being it hits creatures. So this is a way you can downgrade your opponent's best creatures into 3/3 angels. The other twist is giving flyers rather than ground creatures means that Soul of Emancipation can be very effective at blowing up your own things. If you can build a deck with a bunch of useless permanents, you can slam Soul of Emancipation, maybe blow up 3 blood tokens or treasure tokens or clue tokens, and build a really massive board. The end result's going to be what, 14 power, 16 toughness across 4 bodies, with 3 of them having flying. Like, that's a really fast clock. So I think that might be the easiest way to build around this. Basically, I think in general, Soul of Emancipation is a worse Terastodon, because like I said, the main goal of Terastodon is to mess with your opponent's lands, which Soul of Emancipation can't do. There's also risk if you use Soul of Emancipation on your opponent's stuff that you're just going to die in the backswing. If you just slam this and you're like, hey, blow up your 3 things, your opponent is going to get 9 power worth of flyers, and then they're going to untap and probably attack you for a ton of damage. Terastodon at least could block some of the things it creates, which Soul of Emancipation can't. So I think that in general, it's worse Terastodon, but that doesn't mean there aren't shenanigans and uses for Soul of Emancipation. So as far as standard is concerned, I think there's a couple of ways to take advantage of this. Probably the easiest is useless tokens, blood tokens, treasure tokens, clue tokens. If you can make permanents that you don't really care about that much, you can use Soul of Emancipation to upgrade them into angels, which actually seems like it could be pretty powerful. You do really need to build around it though. Remember, if you're blowing up your Goldspan Dragon, it's a downgrade. If you're blowing up your Briarbridge Tracker, like maybe it's slightly an upgrade, but not really an upgrade. So I don't think you can just jam this into any random deck and get that much value out of it, especially since using it on all of your opponent's stuff is going to be really risky like we talked about, but you certainly can build around it and try to flood the board with tokens that you don't really care about and then turn them into angels. There's also sweet synergy with Skyclave Relic. Soul of Emancipation interacts really well with indestructible permanents because you can blow them up and get the angel and still keep the permanent. So let's say maybe the dream in standard is you kick a Skyclave Relic to make 3 indestructible Darksteel Ingots essentially, and then the next turn you Soul of Emancipation, you target each of the Skyclave Relics, you don't lose anything, and you're gonna get all those angels for free, and then this is adding a ridiculous amount of power and toughness, most of it evasive onto the battlefield, which is really strong. And maybe, I don't know, if your opponent has something busted, they got a I don't know, Jin-Gitaxias, a Goldspan Dragon, some really important permanent, Wolf, maybe you blow up 2 of your things and 1 of your opponent's things and you get value out of it that way. So there's certainly uses here if you build around it. There's also a couple of cards that can take advantage of angels entering the battlefield. We don't have a ton of those, but I mean, Righteous Valkyrie sees a lot of standard play. The tokens that Soul of Emancipation makes are angels, so if you blow up through your things and you got a Righteous Valkyrie, you're gonna make a bunch of angels, gain a bunch of life, maybe turn on your Valkyrie, or in older formats, Bishop of Wings also gains you life when angels come into play. So that could be another direction. I don't think tier builds of like Bant Angels in Historic or whatever Righteous Valkyrie life gain deck is popular in Standard are really going to want a 7-drop, but it's important to realize these synergies do exist. Another option is to try to reanimate this. It's 7 mana I don't know. That's a lot. That's a lot of mana. You can cast some really powerful things for 7 mana, but in Standard, we got lots of ways to cheat creatures into play. We got Dalhouse of Horrors and Drygraph Rebirths and Invoke Justices. In cheating this into play early and then blowing up a few things, that is potentially a game-winning line that can let you just steal the game with a big board full of angels. Although, at the same time, there's a lot of good reanimation stuff in Standard. We got Comas and Tox Rolls and Hullbreaker Horrors and Jin Gataxias. All of these actually cost 7 mana as well, and I'm just not sure that in a generic deck, if Soul of Emancipation really quite matches up to like the strongest 7 drops that we have in Standard. So I think it's sweet and it can do cool things, and you can definitely build a sweet like against the odds deck around it, a budget deck around it. But as far as being like a top tier competitive card, I'm kind of guessing people are going to stick with their Hullbreak Horrors or their Comas or whatever they're playing, either casting them fairly or reanimating them. Once you get back to Commander, things are kind of interesting. So I still think that in general, Terastodon is probably a better option, although being able to hit creatures is nice. Terastodon's not going to blow up your opponent's commander, let's say, because it can only hit non-creature permanents. So there is an upside to Soul of Emancipation. The bad news is Terastodon doesn't really see a ton of play anymore. If it does see play, it's mostly in big creature matter style decks like May of the Anima, Meosian of Life's Web, Nika of the Old Ways, decks that just really care about having a bunch of expensive creatures. Random decks don't really play Terastodon anymore. You're not just going to jam it in a deck because you got green mana in your deck. It's not really that kind of card. We've just gotten so many powerful options that Terastodon has kind of been power crept out of a lot of decks in the format. And I think the issue with Soul of Emancipation is the decks that would want Terastodon, like the Mael decks, the Meosian decks, the Nikia decks, aren't in the right color combinations. Bant in Standard and Modern and Historic and Pioneer doesn't really matter. Like, you can splash into another color pretty easily, but Commander has really strict color identity rules, so you can't play Soul of Emancipation even if you want to in a mono green deck or a Gruul deck or a Naya deck. However, there are a couple of homes in Commander where I really like Soul of Emancipation. The first one is Blink deck, something like Rune of the Hidden Realm, and Bant is a really good blink color. In a blink deck, you can keep reusing Soul of Emancipation's ETB triggers. You're blinking it with maybe Rune, blinking it with other stuff. And when you add some support cards into the mix, the value can get really intense. Let's say you have Panormonicon and you cast a Soul of Emancipation, you're going to be able to blow up 6 things. Maybe you have 6 useless things laying around. That's a huge board full of angels that's going to take someone else. Or you can blow up all your opponent's best stuff, turning them into angels. That's not the end of the world. Like, that's not horrible. And then you got Teleportation Circle or Rune or Soul Herder to blink it and do it again. So you can essentially just turn the entire board into angels if you want to. And in theory, if you're the one that's built around it, and you're the one playing the Skyclave Relics, you're the one playing some tokens that you don't mind upgrading into angels, you should get more value out of it than your opponent. So Blink, home number 1 in Commander. Home number 2 in Commander is token decks, and the only issue I have is it's Bant, and Bant is not the best token colors. The reason Bant is not the best token colors is actually really awkward. The problem with Bant tokens is they don't really have a good commander. You're actually looking at the 2 most popular Bant token commanders, and they don't actually refer to tokens like at all. So they're really missing that legend to lead the deck, which is a shame, because if you look at the support cards, Bant is like the perfect token color. Bant's the color that gives you Adrix and Nif, Doubling Season, Anointed Procession. You get a ridiculous number of these token doubling effects, which are incredibly powerful with Soul of Emancipation. If you can Soul of Emancipation and blow some stuff up with a Doubling Season or Anointed Procession or Adrix or all 3, you're going to make a ridiculous, absolutely absurd number of angel tokens and probably be able to use those to win the game. And if you're playing a token deck, you should have good stuff to blow up. Like, you're going to have small 1/1 tokens because that's what your deck does. You're going to be playing Toski. You're going to have Skyclave Relic probably because they both work really well with the token theme. They're indestructible. So those are free targets for your Soul of Emancipation. Maybe you got Reform, which kind of wants to die. So blowing it up is actually an upside. So there's tons of ready support. So I think in a token style deck, Soul of Emancipation going to be really, really good. I think that is literally the best home for this card in all of Magic. So altogether, Soul of Emancipation, I don't think this is the kind of card that's going to see a ton of play anywhere, but I do think it's powerful enough and interesting enough that it will see play in certain situations. You can definitely build a standard deck around it, upgrading your Skyclave Relics, upgrading your blood tokens, treasure tokens, clue tokens. Will that be a top tier strategy? Maybe not, but it seems like a fun budget deck, a fun against the odds deck. And then in Commander, In a generic deck, I would just play Terastodon. I think that blowing up lands is really nice. Plus, Terastodon is just better at blowing up your opponent's stuff. Yes, you can't hit creatures. It is a drawback. That is a big difference. But still, I'm really worried that just giving your opponents a bunch of angels, and then you're the one that blew up their stuff, they're just going to smack you with those angels and probably try to kill you. So it seems a little bit risky to use this on your opponent's stuff as a primary plan. I think it's a nice backup plan where you plan on blowing up your stuff, but sometimes you just got to kill some important stuff, and this will get the job done. But I do think in those specific decks, in the Blink style decks, where you're kind of built around this effect, especially in the Bant token shell, where you're going to have all the pieces you need to really maximize Soul of Emancipation's power, that's where the card is really going to shine. So anyway, that's Soul of Emancipation. That is our exclusive preview card for New Capenna. So let me know what you think. How good is this card? Is it just a bad Terastodon? What else can it do? Which would you play, this or Terastodon? What other homes are there for this in Standard, in older formats? If you think it can break out in Modern or Legacy or Pioneer or Historic, what about in Commander? What deck are you going to throw it in? Where does it go? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks again to Wizards for hooking us up with a really amazing spoiler, and thanks to all of you for watching. So have a wonderful day, everyone, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.